Jeremiah Colter drove the post into the earth with one last grunt, sweat burning his eyes. The sun beat down like God's own furnace, and the silence of Ash Hollow stretched out wide and hard, until he heard it. "Please, help me." He froze. Not the wind, not a coyote, a voice, ragged, torn real. He turned. She staggered from the edge of the dry arroyo, blood streaked down her legs, shirt shredded, skin raw from the sun. Her boots were gone, her left eye swollen shut, her right eye locked on his. Desperate, alive. Then she fell. He dropped the hammer, boots thudding against cracked dirt as he rushed forward. Dust curled around her body like smoke off a dying fire. "Jesus," he muttered, kneeling. Her breath hitched, ribs fluttering under torn cloth. Her hands were scraped to the bone. A jagged gash slashed across her stomach. He didn't see any weapon, just blood and the sun, and a silence broken only by her weak rasp. "Don't let them—" "Easy," he said, voice low. "Ain't nobody here but me." She flinched as he touched her shoulder. Her body jerked. Her fingers twitched. Her lips moved again. "Maddox!" The name dropped like a snake in the dirt. Jeremiah looked out past the ridge, where heat shimmered over the canyon rim. No riders. No dust trails. Not yet. He wrapped his arms around her gently. She winced, hissed through her teeth. "Hang on," he said. She tried to answer, but her head lolled back, eyes rolling white. Unconscious, he carried her across the yard, boots pounding against dead earth, through the crooked gate of the ranch house he hadn't opened to anyone in 5 long years. The door creaked on its rusted hinges. Inside, the air was cooler, still heavy with the scent of gun oil and forgotten time. He laid her on the couch, old horse blanket for a cushion, and grabbed the wash basin. Water, cloth, bandages. He hadn't used them since. No time for that now. He peeled back the blood-soaked layers. She didn't stir. The gash wasn't clean. Looked like a knife, torn at the edges. Deep, but not fatal, if it didn't fester. She murmured again. "Marshal." Jeremiah looked at her face, then at the badge tucked barely into the waistband of her ruined trousers. It was half-melted, bent, tarnished, but there it was. Not a whore, not a victim, a law dog. Thunder cracked far off in the distance. He stepped back, heart thudding harder than it had in years. Eyes went to the rifle hanging above the door. His fingers flexed. Whoever Maddox was, he'd left this woman for dead. If he was coming to finish the job, Jeremiah Colter wasn't ready. Not yet. But the wind had changed. The girl screamed. Jeremiah bolted upright from the chair by the door, rifle in hand before his boots hit the floorboards. She thrashed on the couch, tangled in sweat-soaked blankets, blood-crusted skin shining in the lamplight. "Maddox!" she cried, fists swinging blind. "No, don't touch me." He dropped the rifle, grabbed her wrists. "You're safe. You're here. Ain't no Maddox. Ain't nobody here but me." Her eyes snapped open, wild, unfocused, then slowly blinked back to now. The fight drained out her limbs. Her body collapsed into the cushions. "I didn't break," she whispered, voice hoarse. "I can see that." He let go, sat back. The oil lamp flickered shadows across the cabin walls. Outside, coyotes yipped at the moon like they were laughing at him. She turned her head, lips split and trembling. "Name's Layla. Layla Raines. You got any whiskey?" He poured her a shot from the tin flask on the mantel. She sipped, winced, coughed, drank again. "Hell," she muttered. "That's real." Jeremiah folded his arms. "What happened to you?" She looked down at her bandaged gut, then out the window into the dark. Went undercover to track Maddox. Slaver. Snake with a badge in Mule Rock. Runs girls through the border at night. Sells them off like cattle. I had him, but he sniffed me out. She leaned her head back, eyes on the ceiling. Tied me up. Beat me. Took his time. Said he'd leave me for the buzzards. Make an example. I got lucky. Jeremiah's jaw clenched. "You're Marshal?" he asked. "Was." She pointed weakly toward the corner where her torn coat lay. The half-melted badge glinted on the floorboards. "They hung me out to dry when my partner got killed. Bureau didn't want the stink." He paced once across the floor, hands on his hips. "And now you're here." She looked at him for the first time. really looked. "You don't talk much," she said. "What's your name?" He hesitated. "Calter." Her eyes narrowed. "Not Jeremiah Colter?" He didn't answer. Layla gave a dry chuckle that turned into a cough. "Pinkerton ghost. Thought you were dead." "Might as well be." They sat in silence. The wind pressed against the walls like a breath, holding back a scream. Then she said, "They'll come. Maddox doesn't leave loose ends." Jeremiah didn't move. "Help me," she said, not pleading now, just stating it like fact. He looked at her, at the busted badge, the split lip, the fire that hadn't gone out in her even when everything else had. Then he looked out into the night. On the ridge above Ash Hollow, a faint flicker danced. A match. A pipe. A rider, watching. "They're already here," he said, and the wind whispered their names. The shovel bit the earth with a hollow thunk. Jeremiah Colter knelt under moonlight, sweat on his brow, digging behind the old smokehouse where weeds grew tall and secrets stayed buried. The metal edge scraped wood. He paused, breathed deep, then pulled away the last of the dirt. The trunk sat there like a coffin. He pried it open. The twin lamats gleamed dully, untouched by time. One with a silver snake curled around the grip, the other with 7 notches on the barrel. Below them, wrapped in oiled cloth, a sawed-off scattergun and a long-forgotten badge, burned at the edge, still bearing the faded letters. Pinkerton. Behind him, boots crunched. Layla leaned against the porch rail, pale under the lantern glow. Her wounds still bled through the fresh bandages, but her eyes were sharp. "That's what I thought," she said. "You're that Calter." He stared into the box. "That man died a long time ago." "You sure?" She gestured at the guns. "Because looks to me like you just dug him up." He didn't answer. She limped forward. "I read your file once. Said you took down the Harrow gang single-handed. Said you vanished after your family died. Said you were dangerous." He stood, dust clinging to his knees. "Dangerous gets people I love killed." Layla crossed her arms. "You think staying silent while girls like me get carved up makes anything better?" His jaw flexed. Then he turned, walked past her, and set the trunk on the porch table. One by one, he laid the weapons out, loaded each with mechanical precision, oiled the cylinders, checked every round. His fingers moved like a man waking from a long sleep, remembering muscle by muscle who he used to be. Layla sat, watched him. Her voice dropped low. "He marked me, Calter. Cut me like I was property. Maddox won't stop until he finishes what he started." He glanced up. "You strong enough to shoot?" She nodded, slow. "Strong enough to finish it." They sat together in silence. The air was dry as paper. Somewhere in the valley, a horse snorted. Layla reached into her ruined coat, pulled out a small folded paper. A crude map. A route. Mule Rock. Names. Drops. Jeremiah studied it, then tucked it into his vest. "I ride at dawn," he said. "I'm riding too." He looked at her, then back to the rifles. "Can you even walk straight?" "No," she said, "but I can shoot left-handed." A moment passed. Then a half-smile twitched on his face. "First in years." She caught it. "That's something," she muttered. He nodded toward the ridge. "They'll come tonight. Scouting. Testing the fence." She touched her gun. "Then let him come." Inside, the lamp guttered. Outside, the moon bled behind clouds. And in Ash Hollow, the ghosts began to ride again. Gunfire cracked through the morning haze. Jeremiah dropped behind the trough as a bullet splintered the post inches from his head. Dust swirled around him, burning, choking, alive with heat and lead. 5 riders circled the ranch yard, kicking up grit and grinning like devils. Maddox stood in the center, pale hat low, duster flapping, one hand on the reins, the other resting on his hip like death waiting to speak. "You got no idea who you're protecting. Rancher." Maddox called, voice oily loud. "She's mine. She was always mine." Jeremiah rose slowly, shotgun cradled. "She says otherwise." Maddox grinned. "So she talks now." A second shot rang out, not Jeremiah's. One of the riders toppled from his horse, neck jerking sideways with a red mist. Jeremiah didn't look back. He knew where it came from, the loft of the old barn, where Layla lay flat on her stomach, breathing through the pain, her rifle steadied on a crate of rusted nails. "You're dead now," Maddox growled. 3 men charged. Jeremiah stepped out from the cover, the lumat bucking in his right hand. The first rider took one in the chest, fell like meat off a hook. Second lunged, blade high. Jeremiah turned, caught him mid-swing, blew a hole through his ribs with a scattergun barrel beneath. The third leapt off his horse, tackled him into the dirt. Fists flew. The man's knife slashed across Jeremiah's arm. Blood spilled hot. He grabbed the rider's wrist, twisted hard until the blade dropped, then headbutted him once, twice, before rolling and driving the revolver into the man's gut. Click! Boom! 2 left. Maddox and 1 more, circling toward the barn. Jeremiah got to his feet, bleeding and breathless. He shouted, "Layla, on your right." Too late. The last rider burst into the barn. A scream followed. Then silence. Jeremiah ran. He hit the door hard, boots skidding on hay. The rider had Layla by the throat, her rifle knocked wide, his pistol raised. Jeremiah fired. The back of the man's head opened. He collapsed at her feet. Layla gasped, coughed, clutched her side. Jeremiah didn't ask, just pulled her up. "Can you still shoot?" She smiled through blood. "Told you." Left-handed. They turned. Maddox stood at the door, gun drawn, coat stained, smiling like a man with a secret. "Calter," he said. "Pinkerton ghost. I knew it was you." Jeremiah didn't answer. "You think you're righteous? I break girls. You just bury 'em." Jeremiah stepped forward. "Difference is I don't enjoy it." Maddox fired. Jeremiah twisted, took the bullet in the shoulder, dropped to one knee. Layla's shot came half a breath later, straight through Maddox's gut. He staggered. Jeremiah rose, blood dripping, and struck Maddox across the face with the butt of his revolver. Once, twice, until the man crumpled in the dust. Silence. Only the wind spoke now. Layla leaned against the wall, panting. "You all right?" he asked. She nodded. "You?" He looked down at Maddox's corpse, then up to the light bleeding into the valley. "I'm breathing."